Come one, come all to the
Intro,
PowerHouse
intro us
Fence
up, man.
Show.
Intro us
Yes,
up.
here I am. I'm here. I was too preoccupied with the countdown to realize that when it ends, we start. Uh, hey, how's it going? Welcome back, PowerHouse Fence Show again. For anyone who saw our first, if not, this is our second. And we
Either way, thanks for being here.
right. That's
If you
right.
were here last time, thanks for coming back. If not, welcome.
We are two guys who are going to talk about a little bit of experience with the fence industry and what company we are in, what company he owns, the one I work for, and where we're headed, what we're doing currently, and just a little bit of history, experience, and then a projection for where we're headed. Something like that, right? Does that
Yeah,
sound good?
yeah. I think we're just gonna share.
I
Oh,
like that. I like that. I read in the notes here, bullet points. One is to try to be pretty open about
right, right.
so with some discretion involved here, I guess.
Well, we got the guys across town might be listening. We don't want to
Sure,
share too much, so.
sure.
But yeah, pretty open, pretty honest.
Well, so
So,
I
so
guess I
you
need to
you ready?
mention that we got a couple of logos in the background here. This show is brought to you by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, which is a spinoff of Memphis Fence Company, and then Simpalo, which is a estimating software. Dan could tell you more about that, but that's just a quick blurb about the.
Yeah, we talked about it some in the first one, and if you want to know, let me know. I can leave a comment, send us a message, something like that, and I'll get you some information on it.
So I was kind of driving the last episode, um, and I think you thought maybe I left out some stuff, or maybe I just skimmed, or something like
And I
that that
think
you want to brush up on.
I think we just went to town, and I think
Yeah.
we just kind of left out a few details, and I think this time we're gonna
Started at the beginning and hauled ass to the end,
right.
and left, and then we have one episode.
Well,
So now we've got
well, it was the second time of us recording episode 1, so I think a bit of it kind of just went on
speed
autopilot, and
race. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So where are we headed today? What are we talking about? What do we
So
got lined up?
we're going to continue the introduction, like Zach said, kind of backtrack a little bit and touch on a few things that we skipped over last time. So last time, that I bought Memphis Fence Company, but we didn't really talk about like the motivation or anything like that behind that deal. And so I thought we'd back up to that and share a little bit.
I like that. Isn't that funny? We have these conversations off camera, so it feels like we've had them on camera.
Yep.
So it's hard to remember, like, oh, that was a prep for a show, not a show we've done. So,
Right.
it's hard to realize the audience doesn't know everything we know about the conversations we've had for what it's worth.
That's right. Just today, I was telling Zach, I said, man, we need to get a little recorder and just carry it around
Sure.
and just like sit it on the desk in a lot of these conversations we have so we can broadcast them during our show.
Right.
But yeah,
I
so
like this. This is in addition to fence and commercial fencing in the industry. We're also doing a little intro to podcasting for people who've not done any podcasting.
yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know how long it's taken us
it
just
may
to
be
like
how not to. Who knows?
right.
Too
So
soon to tell.
just getting all the equipment set up and everything. And I mean, we just spent like an hour getting ready to do this right now, and everything was already sitting here. And
Right.
we still can't figure out how to use at least one of the cameras we have going.
Cool.
So, but we're doing it. We're making progress. Right. So, anyways, so kind of my motivation. Do you want to say something? I saw you touch your mic. You sure?
Who are you talking to?
That's Ilaria back there.
Who is Ilaria?
Oh, we're not sure. She's our producer.
Yet
she's
to
the
be
one. She's the one back there pushing
Yet
buttons
to be
and stuff.
disclosed.
Yeah. Wait.
Ilaria, it's me. Hi.
Oh, there we go.
It's me, Ilaria.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for pushing the buttons.
Thank you. We appreciate all the work. So, yeah, we talked about buying Memphis Fence and all, and kind of talked about like my grandfather died. Some short period later, Dad said he wanted to sell it.
Recap: he owned the company, right?
Yeah. So my grandfather owned it, part of it until he died, then left it to Dad, and Dad said he wanted to sell it. And I said, yeah, cool, I'll buy it. And so you heard that part last time. Well, what happened after that was me and my father-in-law started going through. My father-in-law is a CPA and had been doing financial stuff his whole life. So we started going through all the finances and everything of the company. And we spent like several months just trying to figure out how to make it work. We built Excel spreadsheets. We did everything. And we're like, well, what if we just like don't pay the light bill and stop buying fuel? Then, maybe we can pull it off. And I mean, it was rough. There, there was about 10 years there where the company lost a good bit of money, a lot of old equipment, a lot of debt, all of that stuff. And it was just
So
wasn't
your father-in-law, the CPA, you bring him in to check it out, and he's going through as an kind of an advisor, but,
right.
your father-in-law, so he's kinda your friend or
Right, so
confidant.
he's
What was his
vested in it.
opinion?
Oh, run. Run for the hills. He's like, "Get out of there.
And
Don't
20
even think about it."
and 24-year-old Dan T says, "No way, I'm
Yeah,
doing it."
so we left here on a Friday afternoon, and the last thing I told him, I said, "Man, there's no way." I said, "There's no way. We're not buying this thing. It's not gonna work, all of this stuff." Sorry. And then I went home that weekend and just kinda thought about it, and obviously the family history thing, like, it was started by my grandfather and his brother. Then, I grew up here. Dad spent his whole life almost here. I think dad was like, what, 3 years old when the company started. So a lot of family history, a lot of people had worked here and all of that over the years. So that was kind of one thing. And then the other one, I mean, it was an opportunity for me to, build wealth and have a career and all of those things. But what really set me over the edge was thinking about all the people that this place helps feed. So not only the people that show up here every day and actually do the work, go out and dig holes and do all that stuff. And I mean, the people that bid the jobs and call in the locates and answer the phone, you got all of them. And then you also have suppliers and delivery drivers that bring us stuff and, fuel. And I mean, just everything that we touch.
Yeah, you mentioned vendors that you had a firm relationship with for 20 something
Oh,
years
yeah,
at that point.
for years. Man, and just kind of thinking about all of them, I just said, no, we got to do it. And so over the weekend, I thought about all that and I said, nope, we're doing it. Doesn't matter. We're going to try it. We're going to do our best to make it work. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then at least at the end of the day, I know I tried. And that was another thing. I knew if I didn't, then I would regret it.
Right, right.
Regret, I would feel like, all of those people, I let everybody down by not stepping up and at least taking a swing. And so that's what we did. And came back Monday, told my father-in-law, "Nah, we're doing it." So we just dove straight in head first. It was, it's pretty interesting.
I'm sure if anyone's listening who's started a business or is currently in a small business or startup business, or maybe who knows, 5 years into a business, there's some concessions you find yourself making to make sure your employees get paid. And we kind of talked a little bit about that, about, not paying yourself. And then sometimes it being the day the bills are due, and not knowing how you're going to pay them, and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And, it seems like from my perspective, Memphis Fence looks pretty solid and kind of above ground there, above board there. But, I realized, like, having run a business, that you just kind of don't let that show to the employees, right? Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
like
it's
signing the paychecks and like, oh, we don't know what we might have a couple eggs for dinner tonight, or
yeah,
whatever that looks
some
like.
some ramens.
Right,
That's all we
exactly.
got, ramens and
Right.
water. But, yeah, so we're 10 years in. Like, it's been 10 years since I bought it, and there was a lot of times when, I mean, man, we had to pay vendors late. We had to get loans that, I mean, for operations and, all of this stuff. I mean, we'd deposit checks one day and pay payroll the next day kinda stuff. I mean, that all of that has happened, not consistently over 10 years, but, I mean, there's been times like that where it has happened. And, I mean, cash flow is a huge thing in any business, but, like, it was a consistent struggle for a while for us. And, I mean, it took us probably 8, 9 years to kind of get, like, stable. And, now things are looking up now. Um but one of these days, I hope to have our banker on the show and just kinda, like,
Right.
tell the story. Well, I've got a great banker, and, I mean, this guy's helped out a ton, and I kinda like to just tell the story of how we met, how we started doing business together, and, kinda how he's helped us
I'd
out.
love
And
to hear the journey of, like, his starting perspective of you and Memphis Fence, 24 years old, no experience owning, running a
mm,
business, maybe, you know, the only thing you'd done, I guess, at that point was work infants at this company that
Yep.
was a potentially a risky investment for them and all that. And then to see like how that's transitioned to now where like the not only has the you talked about kind of the ripple effect of the business feeding the employees, not only the employees, but their children and the vendors, and how that like the business growing has kind of rippled around to also create more business that are surrounded around Memphis Fence Company, and hear his perspective on that from kind of the fledgling beginning
Right.
to a less than fledgling now or whatever,
Yeah,
however you want to say,
it was pretty rocky
however you
there
want
for
to
a
say
while, man. I mean,
that.
like we had to get rid of health insurance. We had to do a
Sure.
lot of stuff early on, and fortunately, we've kind of brought most of that
Right.
stuff back in.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they thought that it was a good idea when they gave us the initial loan. To be
Who
honest with
said
you,
yes to this?
right,
Right. Yeah.
right. I'm not sure that they're still employed, but like, it worked out for us. We paid our bills, and we got it all settled and everything. But it was it was definitely a blessing, that's for sure. So let's see, where are we? Yeah. So we got a few new trucks out there, man.
We do have new trucks. I
We
like them. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I love an F550.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty cool, aren't they? They
Yeah.
look nice. They look good running down the road, all nice and shiny.
Yeah.
We got almost all of them are vinyl wrap. They all look the same now. We do still have one that has like a random moving company door on it, so there's that. But for
Yeah,
the
we've been doing a good bit of work around branding lately. I mean, you can see we're both in head to toe Memphis Fence over here,
Yeah,
except for what's below waistline, which I'm not
no,
going to let you see
we don't
that.
have to talk about that.
You can just
Hold on,
leave that to the
I
imagination.
need to find that picture.
um, yeah, new trucks. We've been working on building out some racks, and that's always a fun thing to try to envision. Like as an installer, I have an idea what I want
Mhm.
when I work on a truck, and then trying to build that out for a foreman who may or may not appreciate, my
Right.
ideas and around what works well for an install truck, and trying to kind of please all the people is always fun.
And
But
it's always exciting when you
right,
like pour so much energy and you're like, man, this design is great. This truck's going to work perfect. And then you either show it to some installers or you build it and they're like, oh no, that's crap. I
right.
hate that thing. Why would you do this? So yeah,
Which I did, at least in these racks that we did recently. I try to correspond with them to get some input,
mhm,
but so that's always fun building out trucks. I mean, that's a fun thing.
it is. It is indeed. I was talking to somebody about that today. Send them some pictures of some of the stuff we've done. So MFC Manufacturing will build you a truck bed if you want.
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
Fully
we will.
custom, whatever you
We've
need.
got experience too.
Yep. Um, yeah. So we've acquired some new equipment too. Got some new skid steers going out there.
Do tell.
Well, over the years, not this year.
I thought I was gonna pull like a excited commercial from like the '70s where it's like, "What's that now?
Right.
Wait, but that's not all."
I don't know if you know, but I wasn't around in the 70s
Well, I think you've seen television, maybe.
once.
New equipment, some skid steers, which
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Which things have changed a little bit. When I worked in the field, we were fighting over a couple of
Yeah.
machines, and sometimes we planned our installs and jobs around who needed what machine when, which we are doing some of that still, but not quite as much
Yep. I don't think you can ever really have enough unless you have like one
per
and a
man.
half per truck. Then you just don't have enough. It never fails. But yeah, so like I said, overall things are looking up. That type of looking up is the reason why we can
Let's talk
venture.
about the repairs of all these equipment too that comes
Oh,
with
dude,
that.
it's
I mean,
so
just a
crazy.
quick one. I don't want to get into a bitch fest about repairing equipment, but with the new equipment comes like endless repairs of equipment. I mean, we're constantly dealing with that.
Always. We
So,
have we have to have like 6 spare trucks so that we can always have a stack of them at the shop.
right, which we do have some at the shop right now. How
Yeah,
many?
I mean,
Six or seven
forever,
trucks in the
forever.
shop.
That's a lot of that is older stuff though,
That's true. That's
but
true.
we're
But I
we're
mean,
making progress.
we're
I didn't say
depend
we're there.
I think every piece of equipment we pretty much come to rely on each piece as a functional part of the company, and
Mm.
when it goes down, it really does impact us
Oh yeah, for sure.
significantly.
It sucks. No doubt.
I mean, we're installing. We got a pickup truck back there full of chain link parts that are
Mhm.
going out on commercial sites because one truck's down. So that's
Yep.
just part of the new stuff is also still having some older stuff that we're still
So,
limping along. You know,
yeah,
you
and
can't
we're
just
we're trying to cycle through it.
scrap it and buy all new trucks. So
Yeah, they're man, have you bought a truck recently? Like,
I,
they're
no,
ignorantly expensive. You've seen the prices, though. I
yes,
mean, they're
yes.
they're crazy. But, yeah, so I'm
You
actually,
like how I was just like, no. You're like opening up a thing. Hey, let's talk about. Let's get
nah,
this. No,
nah, forget about
shutting
it.
it down.
Yeah, so
Worst co-host.
it's, anyways, in summary, it's a work in progress. How about that? So again, all of this kind of stuff has kind of led us to the place where we can start venturing into MFC manufacturing and doing this show. Cause I mean, let's face it, all of this equipment sitting around and having us sitting here and everything, it takes resources. And Simpalo and, kind of being able to branch out into a few different things. We've mentioned that we're looking to expand and work in some additional states, add on some contractor's license, like all of that takes resources. Doing more jobs takes resources. That's a huge thing. If anybody is listening to this that is not in the commercial world and you want to get in the commercial world, like you need some cash or you need a good line of credit or
Right.
something like that because just keep in mind you're going to bill once a month and then you're going to wait 45 days from the end of the month to get paid.
Right. That transition is pretty difficult. Going from just being a small business, working for customers, then going into doing business to business sales, where my customers then they're not going to give you a deposit.
Right.
They're not going to buy the material up front. So
I suspect there's some situations where stuff like that happens, but as a general rule of thumb, no.
pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean, I did pretty good, running my business and getting deposits and wrangling that out. But there were some contractors who were just like, "Are you kidding me?
Right.
Who the heck are you?"
Right.
So
Yeah, we finance their jobs for them.
right,
And we, as in subcontractors, pretty much finance all of that.
right,
So, but yeah. So
line of
again,
credit, need
you
the
need some cash.
resources,
You
right,
need some resources.
right,
Line of credit, money in the bank, whatever it is, just be ready because it can get tough. And then if there's a dispute, you screw up something on a billing, guess what? If I bill right now, it's the end of July. To the end of August? No, it's the end of
July.
July. Man, sorry. So it's the end of July, right? I
Yeah,
bill now, then I get paid mid-September. If I screw something up on a billing now, then it's going to get kicked out of this cycle and it's not going to go
right,
in until next month. So now that
right,
puts me an extra 30 days out on getting paid for that thing. So like that's what makes it suck even more. You mess up one little thing and you might find out in 3 weeks that you messed it up. Some contractors are good and will let you know like immediately, but some of them you just don't hear from. And then you start asking them, "Hey, where's the money? Oh, you screwed this up.
right.
You didn't give us this form. You didn't do that." Like it takes a bit to get used to, I'll just say. So what do you think about showing a video of our facility?
Okay, okay.
That's pretty scary, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure yet. You know what I
Right?
mean? I don't. It's an interesting thought. I've never viewed it from someone else's perspective, or even thought, "What if they saw behind
Right.
the curtain?"
What would they think about this place? So
I mean, I know that we walk around a little bit. We have extensive talks about yard organization and how to better organize the yard. So I am aware of some uh, areas for improvement,
mhm.
prospective areas of improvement. I'm also aware that the camera angle could be on me when I'm talking.
Right, right.
Just kidding. I was wondering if you were so zoned out you wouldn't even notice.
I think she's just busy over there, like, taking pictures of us to put on social media, and she doesn't even pay attention to the cameras.
It's okay. It's
She's
okay. Sorry, that was
multitasking,
a
man.
little
Cut her
snarky.
cut her some slack. She's
I
multitasking.
know. Thank you.
And,
You
I
are
mean,
killing it.
to be fair, we're all still trying to learn this equipment too, so listeners,
Jesus, I was kidding. Kidding.
if we do screw up, listeners, just be patient. We're trying to get it all down.
Yeah, so we walk and talk and we look a lot at things that are in disrepair and unorganized, and we with the broken trucks, I think it's worth mentioning the manpower problems, or
What?
quote unquote problems.
Manpower? What
Yeah.
what problems?
Well, literally being understaffed, and that
Oh,
kind of thing. And
20
so
people didn't show up today wanting a job?
no, they didn't. One did
Oh,
actually, which is good for
that's
today.
that's good.
So yeah, I mean yard organization and property organization, storage of proper storage of materials are things that really suffer when, like we talked about, the cash flow is
Mhm.
necessary. So what is your focus, right? It's getting
Yeah,
men in a truck out the door, earning money, billable hours,
that's
right?
right.
It's not
Billable hours.
it's not raking and sweeping the yard. So
I like preaching that billable hours thing. I'm glad that you said it.
star pupil over here, ladies and gentlemen.
So, yeah, if we got 10 people, if we got 40 people, if we got 50, 100, they're out putting up fence,
Yeah,
right? We
that's
don't
right.
get to send anyone a bill for cleaning up the yard. Now, we probably need to do a little bit better of a job at it and focus on it a little bit more, but like we don't get paid for that. So we're going to
So
go do things we get paid for.
this is the first I've heard of this walkthrough. What is this like? How are we gonna do this? You're gonna
Yeah.
speed. You took a video,
Yeah, I
and
did.
I'm I would like to been involved in that. I guess I'm a little bit
Did you want to hold the
perturbed,
other side of the camera?
or be in the shot. Be in the. You could
I
tell.
could just follow you
Do you not
around.
see how I snapped off on her? I'm like, get me in the shot. Get me in the shot. I don't want to be here until it's time, and then I'm here. I'm like, hey, everybody, look at me, right? Look at me.
So next time what we'll do is we'll just follow you around
There we go. I like
and
that. I
let you
like that.
just like point at
Yeah,
things.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So the video, we're gonna speed walk, comment through. How are you gonna roll?
So what I'm thinking is we just play the video. So
Okay.
if you're listening to this and it's a podcast, you're not
Lame.
going to see it, obviously. But
We
sorry,
lame.
but it will be on YouTube, Facebook, all of that stuff. You can go watch it if you want. We're like 22 and a half minutes in, just to give you an idea where to look. So Zach and I will like give some commentary and just kind of talk about what's on the screen. What do you think about that? Sound good?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, let's roll. I'm about to add it in. Let's see. Whoa. All right, so this is the back office. Like I just walked out of my office. There's Donnie. There's Ilaria and Zach's Christmas tree. We got a bunch of boxes of stuff getting ready to go to the we are going to the FWA show in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
So I think it'll be like 2 weeks after this airs. So a lot of these boxes you see are from that. Those boxes there are where we're remodeling some bathrooms. Oh, that's a whole nother thing we didn't even talk about, like the state of the office. We just remodeled this whole area last year.
And it used to look like this.
Yeah, except without that floor. So we replaced the floor all the way through here. There's a map from like 1980 of the city of Memphis. A couple desks up that way, another office, nothing too exciting.
Got admin, HR up here.
No. Check this guy out. Boom.
There he is.
That's David, my
The man that
father-in-law.
said no.
Sitting there, feet kicked up on the desk, playing on his phone.
He's loving it now. He said no back then, but he's loving it now.
Yeah, he's up here getting a little golf money. Oh, that was another office. Yeah, so here's a couple of cages. You can see we store a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. There's Randy's office. I didn't go in there and disturb him.
Who's Randy?
Randy's the VP, commercial manager, 39 years at Memphis Fence Company.
I think we kind of hit it in the first episode. But
yeah,
I obviously know who Randy is. I like the game.
Oh, you've met him?
Yeah, I like. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
I have met him once or twice.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let this keep playing while we talk.
I feel like we're about to bust. This is like when wrestlers used to make their way to the ring from the dressing room.
Oh, there's us. There's our studio area in the middle of that office area there. There's some bolt bins. Like I'm not sure. What do we talk about, Zach?
I don't.
Oh, now we went outside.
There's a couple trucks out there and
fab shop over there. We'll go in that in a minute.
Employee parking. Old sign. Old signage.
Old sign.
That
Zach
says,
and I tried to remove that yesterday.
That says Memphis Fence Company.
It's just transparent.
You can see it. Yeah.
Turns out those posts are actually in the ground pretty well still. I wonder how old that sign is.
Employee parking.
Here's some fence panels that we
One of
built.
these days, boy, you gonna own from what here from long as the eye can see.
All right.
Is that so, Peppy? Yes, it is, little Dan.
That's exactly how it was.
Your
4
grandfather
years
talked.
old.
Your grandfather talked like a villain from a Pixar movie or something.
Yeah. So we're walking through this ornamental side. You saw there's a bunch of built fence out there. We're
I
kind
don't
of getting
take
into the
any.
steel
I'm
storage
not
area.
responsible for this area in any way.
Oh, yeah. Have I mentioned Zach's the ornamental manager? So, like, this is his side of the street.
You stay on your side of the street, man.
There's some junk back here. There's a bunch of like leftover old miscellaneous stuff.
Sometimes we make too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make some oopses and they end up in the let's try to sell this as wholesale someday.
Do you think we make too much or not enough more often?
That sentence didn't quite land as easily as do we do what now?
Is it more frequent?
We more oftenly too much, not enough.
Yeah,
or
exactly. You didn't
enough
understand
too
that?
often and plenty, or what? I don't. You just said a bunch of quantities. Some, few, often, many.
Yeah. Do we make too much or not enough more frequently?
It depends on the context of the job. On like the big jobs where we try to run 80%, I feel like we might make more in that circumstance.
Right.
But in a smaller job, smaller setting where we set posts first, I guess flagging panels would be the situation where I feel like we might make too many. Setting posts, we make not enough.
Right.
So setting posts are the jobs that we have to go back and, oh crap, we forgot a 35-inch panel, the one that goes around the corner next to the building.
So remember that whole cash flow thing?
Yeah.
Guess what? Now we don't get paid till we build another panel, code another panel, take it back and install it.
Yeah. I just send them a picture of one that's laying on the ground in the yard and say, it's ready. Let's invoice.
That's really why we keep all those back there in the back
We're
lot.
making progress on your job.
Right.
That's not true.
No,
we are not dishonest. Well, we try not to be dishonest, at least in that way. We definitely don't do that.
So this is our inside the shop.
See that thing right there?
That giant press?
Well, that's cool too, but keep going. Sorry.
Okay.
Piranha.
Yeah, another
Piranha. Iron worker. We'll call it an iron worker.
Oh, yeah, right. We're brand names. I still don't know if we're allowed to say that. I guess as long as we're not talking bad about them, they won't care.
Sure. Maybe we get some.
Hey, that's an interesting idea.
Is that a thing? How do you do that?
Will people sponsor us?
Here's our aluminum storage. We build big aluminum slide gates sometimes in this shop. The shop is pretty much changes shape depending on our needs.
Yeah. So everything in here is kind of modular.
Right. So right now we're kind of looking at the end of the aluminum saw table with some aluminum drop rack there. And so if we need to build a 30-foot aluminum slide gate or 70-foot aluminum slide gate, we bring the table in, the saw table comes out, we cut all the material there. We've got a couple of pieces of table that join together to make.
What if we have to build a modular slide gate? Oh,
we haven't built that yet.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that more later.
Jesus.
But yeah, even the table. The table is modular. Did you say that? So it has like extension pieces we put on it and all that stuff?
I was getting it.
Okay, sorry.
There's a couple of interesting gates. These are some of the customers we frequently rebuild their gate.
Right.
So we got this cycle started by building a new one, bringing the old one back. And then so when it's time to rebuild the one we most recently installed, we rebuild this, bring it back. And so now we've got one just kind of locked and loaded.
On standby.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty common. Those are a couple there, repeat customers.
Yeah.
The local transit authority, I think, is one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Some trucking companies get hit a lot.
Big
cantilever gate, some barrier gates.
Barrier gates ready to be done. Here's the chain link
gate shop.
Gate shop. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's in there working on a barrier gate right there. Got another chain link gate.
That's one of the other longtime employees we mentioned in the first episode who's been here 30 plus years.
Yeah. I'd have to look to say exactly how many, but yeah, a long stinking time.
Right.
I know that. Thanks for putting me on the spot, by the way.
I'm just going to go on and say he's been here a long time. I think in the 30s. I think in the 30s.
Yep,
How
for
could you
sure.
be expected to know that? You were may or may not have
I
been
don't even
born.
know. Was I even alive?
Right, that's so you're totally absolved of any responsibility.
Right.
This is the old paint booth, which we don't really do any in-house paint. I mean,
On
not
occasion,
much.
but not much. But
Not this year, and my objective is to get the powder coat system up and running to where we don't have to do painting
yep.
really. I
Yeah,
mean,
so you can see. I mean, our paint booth is normally used as storage. Some of you can't see, but
so this
there's
is one of those big old jobs where we built 80% of the panels flagged
yep,
prior to even seeing the job.
that's right.
We
And
pulled some measurements on some plans and built 240 panels and said, I think that's about right.
yeah, we'll just start there and then we'll kind of like fill in as we need. So here's
Yeah.
your little 360 of the shop. And then we move on. Let's go see something else. What are we going to see next? What do you think?
Powder coat.
Oh, man, you got it.
Wow, right on time too,
Check that
boy.
out.
Did you like that timing?
Yeah.
How about that?
Have you and you haven't even seen this video or have you?
No, I've never seen this video.
Okay, that's cool.
I wasn't kidding earlier when I was like, what video? What are we going to do? I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so there's a powder coat oven and booth and no longer a truck in there. Zach and I took care of that yesterday.
I would have swept the floor had I known that we were going to be doing this. It's
Yeah.
in, we really are in like super crunch mode on those giant panels. I mean, we did talk about what we found out yesterday on that big bulk job that I said we just kind of built 250 panels and winged it.
Yeah.
We were on hold for a significant period of time.
Yeah, we were supposed to be there in like February, I think,
Right.
early February.
Right. So back to that, we're not sweeping and cleaning. We're actually got understaffed and trying to bang out 250 panels
Yeah.
powder coated. Not to mention they're 8-foot tall panels with a 10-foot post. They probably weigh, just under 100 pounds each.
Nope.
And we're trying to crank them out as soon as
1 inch
possible.
pickets.
While all the while cleaning the surface rust the best we can. Well, great. But
yeah, we don't do anything just to the best we can.
Right. Well, that's why I'm rephrasing. But
Yeah,
we're spending a significant amount of time removing surface rust because we've had to store them for like over 2 months now.
and we should have coated them 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but again, we
Labor had it.
got those jobs that people are waiting on, and they got money in their hand, and we
True.
go do that.
Well, and workforce did have a little bit to do with that. I mean,
Yep.
I've been struggling keeping a skilled powder coater in the powder coat.
Yeah,
booth.
yeah, that's
So,
right. So now we're walking back into the chain link side of our property here. So that's the office that we walked through earlier. And this is another example of how we don't spend enough time cleaning and organizing going on over here. Some concrete, some wood. We don't really do wood fence anymore, so we don't keep that much wood here. We do a few jobs. The concrete actually looks really nice. There's a lot of times where that whole area is just like covered with busted bags and a pallet with 2-3 busted bags. And
that's true. I think we had a couple weeks
Oh,
recently where
there was your pickup truck with the chain link in it. We just missed it.
oh yeah, they installed.
Yeah, right. The makeshift install.
Big old yard.
I don't know. Ilaria's taking a nap over there.
I don't understand the context for crickets, but that's okay.
Oh, she said, "You were not talking." What? They called the wrong phone. They can't be on the show. So I don't know what to do. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I'm just gonna let this video play and let's talk about something else. What do you think?
Yeah, that's cool. We did enough of that.
Yeah,
I think they get it. It's we're a fence company. Here's all our stuff. We're bearing all. This is
right.
This under the rug or whatever you do when
Yeah.
your parents tell you to clean your room. This is
We opened the
how we-
closets, we lifted the rugs, all of that. And
but
back
the
to the
install
whole
looks good.
back to the
right?
whole transparency thing. Like we're just showing you what we got.
Right. That's right.
So we talked some about processes, right? And so I got some stuff here that you've been working on improving some processes, right?
Yes, I've been
You
working.
want to talk about that a little?
Yes, I've been working on organization chart for how. I mean, one of the big things that I've really seen that was kind of necessary is nobody knows who to report to or whose job's what.
Yeah.
And some of that is kind of cool, part of that adds to like a relaxed work environment. And so I feel a little more comfortable and it's flexible and that's fun. We also kind of work together as a team, but in that,
I think it's kind of that too much of a good thing is a bad thing
right,
situation.
right, right. So in specifically in the iron shop, that's something where I've been really trying to compartmentalize a bit, but
Mm,
not over compartmentalize. And so an organizational chart of who reports to who is actually the foreman of the shop, who is a trainee, which I've talked a little bit with you about. My opinion of hiring a new guy, an entry level guy, is not to keep them entry level because somebody's got to climb the ranks and become the next foreman.
yep.
So everybody, in my opinion, I ditch the word helper. I like to refer to all the guys as trainees.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think that's your opportunity for the future
right,
is the trainees, helpers that you hire today are going to be foremen one day.
right,
That's what you need.
right. So that, and also that kind of falls into a little bit of us talking about. We've talked about work culture, which is
Mhm.
something that 5 years ago I had no idea even what that meant. I'd never heard the terms. And, I might have even 5 years ago, I would have, probably laughed at that and, called somebody some kind of a degrading name or
Yeah, right.
emasculated them in some way.
Right.
But really, I understand the benefit of that. And you talked about your investment in this and the people surrounding it whose lives
Mhm.
are being touched. And I talked a bit about on the first episode about being here and why I would so willingly come back to work here. It's the family environment, the family atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so that is all of this positive work culture that we're talking about. And I think, calling someone a permanent helper or even just establishing that that's their job or their job title, it could be kind of demeaning, I think, or, um, and I'm not really intending to get too much into that, but, as far as this establishing the organizational chart or whatever, like, saying that these guys are trainees with the objective of becoming foreman, right? So,
Right.
um, yeah, I've done a little bit of process development, working quite a bit on project management, which is something that seemed like there has not really been a good process for, and currently not. I wouldn't
Dude,
say that I'm doing the best
look at
job.
all that stuff. Isn't that crazy? That's like years worth of stuff.
A lot of I like all the old handmade stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, if I was gonna, add some positive
Oh no, it's cool.
comment to this, like the handmade things that guys were just like breaking out a stick welder and some old used pieces or whatever and
Yeah.
making the job work. And that was, that's a really attractive thing for me coming into this business was just making tools.
Yeah.
I
There's a
love
lot.
making and using the tools that I've made or
Mhm.
finding an old tool that benefits my job that somebody made 30 years ago or whatever.
There's a
So
lot of ingenuity that has to go into that kind of stuff. And, we've been look at all those tires.
nice.
So we've been here since 71 and there's a lot of equipment available today. A lot I mean skid steers with tons of attachment and all that stuff. I don't know when I believe that Bobcat made a skid steer in like the 60s. I think the guy who started Bobcat made one out of necessity for himself. Don't hold me to it. I can't remember. But I did
We'll have the
watch
history of Bobcat in a future episode.
there is a YouTube video that shows like the history of it, but I'm pretty sure he like
This is just gonna turn into we play a video and then we talk over it.
right.
And it's
No,
like a Space Odyssey 2001 or
no,
whatever that is.
that is not this podcast.
What is that show called? Whatever, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Science fiction theater. There we
There's
go.
like a
There we
whole
go.
thing where people actually do that. Oh, the video's done, so I'm gonna remove that now.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
We're back.
Hold on. Let me get the sleep out of our eyes.
Right, that's right.
So yeah, there's so many attachments and stuff like that for all the skid steers and all the equipment and everything that exists today that didn't exist.
Right.
You
My
know, in
favorite thing is the hydraulic actuated concrete
concrete hopper,
dispenser. Yeah,
right?
hopper.
That was like from the 80s that was handmade that
Right.
we still have
Love it. I
two of
wish we
them.
could go show a picture of that.
Yeah,
Oh, she doesn't have one.
maybe I'll try to get that for next time.
And put up a picture of the concrete hopper.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right. Uh-oh. Someone is calling me now, but we don't need to put her in the show. But yeah, I mean that's a cool thing to just kind of see like the remnants of all the ingenuity and everything that happened from back then. And I mean, there was a time. You okay?
I'm trying to look at the notes. I'm sorry.
There was a time when Memphis Fence didn't have skid steers and used tractors,
I'm having a health problem.
and like ran stuff off the PTO on the back of the tractor and all
Right,
that.
right,
And I
right.
mean, they built some guardrail trailers. Didn't we find some old pictures of that a couple weeks ago where they had a trailer with like a post driver built on the side of it that they used to drive
Oh yeah,
guardrail posts and stuff,
yeah. Some
all
of the
ran off
old
the hydraulics
throwback.
on the back of a tractor?
Right.
Like, yeah, all that stuff's cool. So you've been making a flow chart.
I've been making a flow chart.
And
I've
the
been making flow charts.
so
I've been
what
flowing,
what's
man.
this
I've
flow
been.
chart look like? What's it for? What's it
I
got on
really.
it? What's on the piece of paper?
We got guys. We got welders. They're welders. They're not necessarily experienced fabricators. And fence fabrication, you could not know how and just punch some channel and press some points on some pickets and cobble together a piece of fence or do a decent job. But what I really see is we're really inefficient in that process. It's like cut 3 pieces of channel, cut two fence pickets, put together one panel, and then start the process over again.
Right.
Right. So having a little bit of experience with this, I really see the need for some improvement. And so what I'm trying to do is take some of that thinking out of their hands, not because I think they're incapable, but just because I want them to
Well,
focus
you've
on
got the
the
experience.
craft.
You've got experience, and you're another perspective.
Sure. Right.
In
So
their perspective, they're over there busting their butt, doing everything that they can, cutting 2 pickets at a time. But,
that's right.
just maybe just having another set of eyes on something and like, hey, what if you did it like this?
Sure. So,
So
what I'm doing is I'm building a flow chart for the process, a step by step, which
Mhm.
some of this is going to hopefully take care of some of that. Oh shit, we forgot the 35-inch panel at the end of the
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Because if I set posts, say one of my steps in my flow, and this is going to be job specific. I think we talked about we could kind of template it for
Yeah,
a
make like
couple of
4 or
different
5 different.
approaches, basically. So
Yeah.
I mentioned the approach of prefabbing panels, flagging panels, which we just kind of grazed over that, but that's where you build the panel, you go ahead and weld the post to it.
Mm.
So as you set the post, you're setting the panel, and then you block up the panel to get it level. Then you move on to the next one. We dry set all that. Then you come back and pour everything at the end.
Yeah, you shouldn't mention dry set in a fence industry podcast. There's like a huge argument around that. So
But they
we
can
just
call
put
me
some
on the telephone.
we put some concrete. How about that? We're not looking to get into that.
Okay.
But I mean, whether it's like racked or stepped or whatever, you can do that.
Sure,
Flag
sure.
them. Some installers prefer them flagged. Some installers prefer to set the post and then put the panels in. Also, it's a lot dependent on the situation. I mean, if
yeah,
you're
if the
doing
grade's real chopped up, if you got
4-inch post,
right 4-inch post, a big post designates that. We got a job right now we're working on that has all 4-inch posts, so I'm going to set all the posts.
Yep.
What that does enable you to do is really break up the space and have consistent number of panels, right?
So I think, and here we are, just like this is no longer about the commercial fence industry. This is our ornamental process.
Sure. Well, you asked about the process, so you understand there's a lot of nuances that come with installing iron fence. So if I, sitting at the desk, looking at the job, having seen the job in person, can build out a flow chart, a step-by-step process to hopefully streamline and make it more efficient, so that we're making fewer trips to the job site, thus, maintaining our profit margin.
So let me add some information here
Yeah.
for our listeners. So what we're talking about is custom built iron fence, right? So not prefab, obviously, but our ideal situation is that we go out and we set our terminal post. So we're going to set the end post, the gate post, and the corner post, measure everything in between, build all the panels so that they're all the same length. We don't like this whole 80% thing. That comes whenever you're on a new construction project or a remodel or something
Exactly.
like that, and you're not going to have time to do it that way. So we're kind of forced to do it the way we don't really prefer to do it for the sake of time. I mean, the job that we showed you earlier that was in the paint booth, I think that job's like 1,800 feet of fence or something like that. So, I mean, if you went out and you set all of those, when the contractor called and said, okay, we're ready for you to put the fence up, we go out, we can't set all those terminals and gate posts and then be like, all right, we'll see you again in 2 months.
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't work. So that's the reason why we kind of like bend the rules.
2 months.
Yep.
I mean, so here's so as opposed to where in a prefab situation, you could just order the product, have it shipped to the job site, put it in, whatever.
Well, and you just have 8-foot panels, and then you get to, I mean, some people just get to the end and have an 18-inch panel. We've talked about that. That's terrible.
So a lot of ways. And so what I've been working on better is trying to dictate the process to make this more streamlined for the guys. Because if it is, they don't know if it's method one or method two, or
Right.
how we're going to react. And so really just a lot of
You
planning.
know what it is? It's a roadmap for the
That's
job.
exactly what it is.
That's
That's
all
what
it
a
is.
flow chart
Step,
is.
I mean, so Zach's flow chart, I've seen it, obviously, and it has step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Step 1, go set 14 of these posts, 6 of these posts, 2 of these posts, measure everything, measure the distance between the posts,
Right.
measure the fall. If you've
Right.
got a fall across your gate, we deal with that a lot. We go set post, hang a gate, and then we're like, oh crap, there's 12 inches under that end of the gate. Well, why did you not measure?
Sure. Well, and this is a good opportunity to talk a little bit about that, about working with the guys to, I guess it's a little bit in the work culture of not saying, well, they should stink and know. They're
Yeah.
fabricators. And that
Right.
was kind of my initial reaction when
Oh,
I started
man.
over here, was like,
It's 100 degrees out there. You've been working all day,
Sure.
setting posts. You got them all done. Like most people are not gonna
well, why should I
always.
have to do their job for them, Dan?
Yeah, right.
Why should I?
Well, all you're doing is helping them to remember.
Right. So, what we're doing is hopefully helping guys to become better employees,
Yeah.
and to an extent, maybe it'll help them in their own life. I mean, to instruct an employee how to write a step-by-step list for their day, I find that to be beneficial in my personal life.
Yep.
And
so also kind of like, employee development.
Right.
I've had this conversation a lot with people, but the way I look at it, like, you work here now, you're not going to work here forever. Most people are not going to spend 40 years at the same company, right? I mean, just face it. Although I personally would love if everyone just stayed here and all retired here, like eventually you're probably going to leave. So if we can help improve your process and help grow and develop people that work here, like, we can better their life when they go apply somewhere else. We can
Right,
give them more of a skill set when they go apply somewhere.
right. So that just perspective shift of, you know, helping them to grow, or looking at them as the problem why my jobs are inefficient. I mean, and then accepting that that is my responsibility to encourage them and help them to better grow. Now, there are
Yeah.
people that are just not going to pan out,
Mhm.
but
That's right.
ultimately where we're at now, or where I'm at, in my management tactic, is to give them more tools.
Yeah.
Which at first it's a little humbling. I'd love to just be like, they're the problem, but ultimately, as I don't consider that to be good management tactic.
Yeah.
To just blame my workforce for all the problems we're having here.
Yeah.
And what I do is take some responsibility, and that's where all this flow chart organizational stuff came from. It's like an attempt for me to do some work on the front end to help them make fewer mistakes,
Yeah.
all the
And
while becoming more efficient and more profitable.
help them develop their skill set and their understanding of the process and all of that. And we talked about one of the install crews giving them a checklist.
Right.
Like, when
I
you
did
leave
that.
here, here's what you need to have with you. And
Right.
What we talked about was, like, you're going to make the checklist for them for the first month.
And what I hopefully am doing is teaching them to make the checklist.
That's right.
Again.
That's right.
So when I
down
was
the
running my business, I would wake up, I'd be super stressed out. And I had a friend that was like, have you considered just kind of making a plan for your day? And so then what I started doing was, I'd sit down in the morning, I'd think about the whole day ahead, and I would make a list. And obviously, that some of those things aren't going to get done. Some of them I would look at and think, that's going to be difficult. I'm
Yeah.
going to run into some contrast here. And so I prepare for the prospect of contrast in the beginning. And so
Mhm.
trying to transmit that, again, this is another thing. It's like, it's more than just, you get your ass out there and put in a dang fence and do a good job, or else.
Right.
It's about like sculpting and helping people, and how can we transmit what we've learned through this process, not only to help better Memphis Fence Company, but to help better them as individuals.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's right. We want them to develop. It helps them. It helps us.
Well,
You okay?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
looking at your notes.
sorry.
We had
Here.
some bullet points here, and I put in, I got to do like this. I don't know if she can get a shot of me, but this is me reading small print. They're thick, but they're not that thick. I need some binoculars.
Oh, the folders. That's next, man. The folders.
Job folders. Yeah.
So that's something that kind of goes back and has been done here and there throughout my time here, anyways.
And a good reason why I need a job folder is I've got a drawing. It's got some measurements on it. They made it in the field. It gets to my desk. The fabricator needs it. He sees it. Then, he gets it. Then the next thing I know, it's gone.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, what size is that panel?
Yeah.
Or what?
Where does this 78.5-inch panel go? Oh, well, I don't know.
Right. So I'm started compiling a folder for each position, which the positions currently are designated as fabricator, installer, and powder coat.
Yeah.
And so each position gets a copy of all of the information for all of the job. Along the way, if we make a scribbled note on a napkin, I'm going to scan it. I'm going to make it a PDF. I'm going to print it, put it in the folder. Is it labor intensive? Yes. Do I like doing it? No. Is it helpful? I don't know yet.
It's yet to be seen, but we're trying it.
But realistically, I got 6 relatively sizable jobs that I built all the folders for yesterday, and
Yeah.
today's pretty much scot-free,
Right.
So for now,
So you got 6 jobs, you got 3 folders apiece, so you got 18 folders
right.
going.
That's
so
right.
you got them color coded for where they
Color-coded
go
for
right?
each job, and then on the calendar, if you were to look at the calendar, each job is color coded with that. So that's my process currently.
So kind of what's in the folders? I know you said a drawing,
order, which the work order, as people know, it contains the customer's name, the address for the work to be
some
performed,
contact information,
and basically the form that I sent to the customer in order to estimate and obtain the job.
Yeah.
So it's got a picture of the job site. It's got some rough linear footage, kind of a basic rundown. It's got all the measures,
preliminary measurements.
That's right. But what it does have is a profile of the fence,
Yeah.
which is pretty hard nosed. If we profile a fence and it's on the work order, that's what the customer expects.
So
that's what the customer gets.
Remember, custom building fence, there's infinite possibilities, infinite ways that you can build a fence, measurements, all of that stuff. So that's why our profile has to be included. You can't just say it's style 3 or whatever. Like we got to have a drawing that shows that style.
Right. So now I've started making drawings for each style of fence instead of just listing out these are the dimensions of materials going into the fence. I'll make a drawing to illustrate to the customer what piece of fence. So that's going in the folder.
Mm-hmm.
Any pictures that our field supervisor has taken of the job sites going in the folder. Any information we collect along the way is going in the folder now. So then in addition to that, I'm printing off when I order materials for the job so that the materials can be separated out and designated as being for a specific job. So we don't get halfway through a job and we've borrowed from 3/4 to pay 1 inch.
Yeah.
You like how I twisted that one up?
Yeah.
We borrowed from Peter to pay Paul. We've borrowed from 3/4 picket to pay 1 inch picket. It doesn't, I guess I couldn't interchange 3/4. You know what I mean? Though.
Right.
Funny guy.
We used a picket expander and made the 3/4 into 1 inch.
Yeah,
stretched them out a little.
That just didn't
No,
work.
it didn't work. Oh, sorry. I give up. I'm going home.
A good example of how our process lets us down this week.
Whoa. So the material list.
Yeah.
Right. When you include it, so that's either full length pieces, cut length pieces,
true,
whatever.
Right.
And
so
when you order material for 3 jobs at one time and all 3 of them show up together, like you kind of need to know what's for what.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I allocate each for each. So we did actually have a job where I pre-cut some material. I didn't pre-cut other material. So it came all in a weird bundle. And that's how that went down.
And the steel suppliers don't separate it by job. If you got 3/4 pickets for 3 different jobs, they just put them all together and there you go. So powder coating, I just kind of have a note here. It's ongoing. It needs improvement. So we showed you the powder coat building. We showed you kind of what it looks like in there. We are very limited in space. And so kind of having that limited space creates some issues with trying to get stuff hung and get it in and out. And it's hard for us to kind of get a good flow going where we have multiple racks that we can be putting powder on, baking, loading, unloading, all of that at the same time. We've kind of looked at some different ideas for like putting an overhead track system in there maybe, or and we've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 different styles of racks that we've kind of built, just trying different things. And we're really trying to like nail down that process and get it to where we can be really efficient and have a good flow through there. It's a work in progress. So as we go along through these things and as Zach implements his job folder or his job folders, since there's multiple per job, we'll kind of update you maybe here in a month or something and just let you know if we've seen some improvements, if it's made things better, made things worse, whatever the case may be with that. And as we said at the beginning, we're gonna keep you in the loop and let you know where we make mistakes, what we do that works, what we do that doesn't, and just kind of show you our process. So the last thing here is kind of an example of how our processes let us down a little bit. I mean, it wasn't catastrophic or anything, but we had a subcontractor show up. He was here to get material for
Oh,
3
yeah.
jobs at one time, right? So,
Mm.
Alfonso, right?
Yeah, Alfonso.
Right. He shows up. He's gonna get this material for these 3 jobs. And so, of course, the yard guy that's normally here is on vacation. The project manager who was in charge of these 3 jobs was out of the office. And so, Donnie, our who does kind of helps Zach, does some wholesale sales, does material ordering, kind of does a little bit of everything. So Donnie's out here like scrambling around, like, oh crap, he's getting flustered. The sub's getting pissed off at him because he just drove across town to come pick up some material and he can't find it and all this stuff. And so what happened was none of the work orders had a material list with them, right? So Donnie didn't really know what he was looking for. He kind of had an idea,
Right, right,
but he didn't exactly know what he was looking for. So mistake number one, right, was that we didn't have material list. Mistake number two, nothing was labeled.
right.
Like there was no labels on
We're a
anything on the
fence
yard.
company. We have fence materials,
That's
and they're
right.
just in a pile with all the other materials.
Right, right. So we've got like 18 piles of material out here. And, you know, well, we thought 3 of those piles were for jobs. Turns out only 2 of them were because 2 of the jobs were bundled together
Right.
because they were all the same material. So kind of going back to the steel thing, like we didn't label it. They didn't know what they were looking for, anything else. They were in 2 different places. So I mean, there was some mistakes that were made there, but in the end, we found it. We got everything sorted out, and the sub isn't real happy about it, but
Right,
like,
which that brings us to a point. I've mentioned manpower, manpower, manpower. We rely specifically on this sub for a lot of the commercial
mm,
wood that we're doing.
yeah,
We're not doing a lot of commercial wood in-house.
right.
We rely heavily on this guy
Yeah, in
for
fact, we don't have a wood truck
right.
set up and outfitted anymore because
So
since we got out of residential, we kinda did away with all our
so I
wood
mean, if
trucks
he
and
were
everything.
to just today say, I'm done with you guys. This is the third time I've showed up. You didn't have the stuff ready,
Yeah,
and screw you. That
yeah.
would put us in a pretty serious predicament.
So there's a lot of talk about, like, culture and taking care of your employees and making sure they're happy and all that, but, like, don't
We
forget the subs,
right.
we right.
Oops. I take it
Right. We
back. I don't.
we did all of these things for the guys that work here, but we did nothing for the subs. Like, don't
Right.
forget them,
Right.
And so that's a part of the process. Like, we need to make sure that when we give a job to a sub that we've done our part and that everything's ready for them because they're not getting paid to come over here and sorry,
Right.
sorry, sorry. What I mean, can't edit it, so it is what it is. But so yeah, I mean, man, they don't get paid for it. Like they come get the material and they expect it to be ready and
Right. So that's
kind of let us down a little bit, but
right.
that's how we learn. That's how we make mistakes. That's how we learn what we do right, how we learn what we do wrong, and you see, we share it with you. Like,
Well, hence the whole process folders and all the
yep,
stuff I'm
yep,
working on is that I mean that same kind of thing happens with my guys in the iron shop if I'm not on top of
yeah, that's right.
the materials here or wait I gave you the job jacket but forgot to order the
So
material or
that's a different
don't know where the
perspective.
material is or
It's a different perspective because now we have hourly people and
right
we're paying them regardless of whether
right
they have something to do or not. So like
right
they'll sit over there and sweep the floor, all day long if we don't give them something to do.
sure
And like that's again not billable hours. It needs to be
right
done. We've talked a lot about like cleaning your workspace and keeping things orderly and all that. But yeah, so that's either way it's a problem. Whether it's employees, whether it's subs, whatever, it's a problem. So I I'd like to extend an invitation to anyone who actually is still listening. If you have some ideas on processes or you have something in place that works really well, we'd love to have you on. So just reach out to us. Let us know, hey, I got a process for
should we
doing this.
should we mention that in addition to the folder I'm not just winging it with caveman tablets these folders are printed pieces of paper that have come from we use software, we use,
Oh, you didn't just like write it on a piece of notepad and shove it in there?
n
I
no,
did hear
no.
you say you were going to scan it and
I
like,
did say scan in PDF. I
Yeah.
did say that, but we use
Did you fax it to yourself to get it to a PDF or something? How would you do it? Oh, you faxed it. Never mind. Ilaria, give me some crickets. I deserve them.
yeah.
Right.
What's
So,
your facts?
right. Yeah. So, a CPA the other day, he's like, "Oh, if you don't feel comfortable emailing me this stuff, just faxed it to me." And I was like, we have a machine that has fax capabilities, but I don't think it even works, man. I don't know how to get that.
Right.
So it's
So we are using some project management software.
Yeah.
And that's how we're categorizing jobs and transitioning them to get to the fabrication stage, basically.
Right.
So new leads and all that. So as with the insight on process, that's one thing that I didn't mention that we are currently
So what
utilizing.
we're at an hour right now. So I think what we should do one day is, well, I'm gonna write this on my notepad, but
I like it.
maybe just go through our whole kind of software package and what all we use.
Jeez.
Right? Maybe.
And it's ever growing. This podcast has required more software.
Yeah, I think
More.
we've added on some stuff for this, and like it's like every few weeks I'm like, oh, hey, check this out. Here's some cool thing. Let's try that.
Right.
So our software, if I can spell. I was telling Zach today, writing by hand seems so laborious now. Yeah, what we do is like,
laborious.
laborious. Is it really?
I don't know.
Ilaria, what do you got? What is it in Italian?
Labor intensive. Just say labor intensive.
Yeah. Okay. So writing feels very labor intensive now. I don't know. That's weird.
Laborious.
Laborious.
Like you should be stroking your goatee when you say this.
Yeah.
Laborious.
So yeah, I think we'll kind of just walk through the whole thing. A lot of people ask me about this in some Palo demos, actually. They ask me like, oh, what do you use for your CRM? What do you use for project management? What do you use for this? What do you use for that? I mean, and I'm happy to share with everybody.
I like how you proposed the question of them calling and telling us, and I'm like, no, wait, listen to more of what we have to say.
Yeah. Well, what I was asking for is processes. I mean, right. If a part of your process is using software 1, 2, and 3, like we'd be happy to hear about that too. Because I think
we just have them call and then we just roast them. Is that
no?
After all that
terrible.
Talk about
Are you kidding me?
Right after all that talk about investing in people, give us your great idea. Terrible. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, we're open to it. I'd like to hear what other people are doing. That's kind of the whole part of this. Like, I've had like this kind of misnomer or kind of a perspective of trade secrets and hush hush, and how I run my business is quiet and mine only, and afraid to let people know. But I think this, effort to be transparent about what we're doing here in Memphis Fence and all of that is cool. It's a cool way to kind of share energy, to work together. There's plenty of jobs and work for all of us, I think.
Right.
And so we're not competing. We are competing, but I just don't think.
Are we competing on like processes though?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I just think that
move your mic over. There you go. That shadow thing, man.
Sorry,
listeners. Told you we're still learning.
I'm just saying. I think it's cool to kind of add everything to the pod and kind of
I heard
share with each other what's going on.
I heard somebody on a podcast one day, and they said there is no secret sauce. The internet exists. Right, like you can find out whatever you want.
Sure.
Just go find it on the internet.
Right. So that kind of age old or antiquated thinking of a trade secret.
Right.
Yeah. So again, like I think the whole purpose of this is to open ourselves up in hopes to get some feedback from some other people and get to kind of share in the journey together.
We want to hear from some folks.
It's like a little too mystical and.
Oh, Ilaria is making fun of our video. I just now saw you have a mic. All right, so yeah, call us. I think we'll be live on August 17th. I think we'll do that show live. And when we go live, there will be a phone number running across the bottom. Like right now, you see I put down there, it's pre-recorded. I'm not sure if you see that live thing over by Zach or if it's just showing while we're recording, but this show is not live. But on August 17th, we'll be live. You can call in. You can ask questions. You can tell us your process. If you want to be on the show, be a guest, reach out, let us know. We're pretty open right now. We have one person scheduled to be a guest.
Are
So
you gonna keep it a secret? Is it a big secret, or how are we playing that?
do we wait until like that day and announce it?
I don't know. Why don't we talk? Why don't we just disclose like what they do or something?
They do a little consulting
Okay, consulting.
and fence industry specific consulting.
I like that. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Let's leave it there.
Yeah. Pretty good guy. I like him.
Cool.
I've got to know him a little bit here over the past few months.
Okay, and his name rhymes with crayon. Is that right?
No. No, it's
right.
not.
Who? I don't know any names that rhyme with crayon.
That's what I was trying to think. Like, what could you possibly be thinking of?
I was hoping that it was going to lead our audience into he's going to tell us something, and then they're
and
like,
I just shut it down.
right,
like you,
which we did.
No, that's all you're getting. Our biggest critic. All right, I think we're done.
It's that
an hour and 6 minutes.
I don't even know who that is.
I don't think anyone's still listening. Everyone's probably they've made it home. They've fallen asleep, whatever the case may be. So let's go home.
All right. Me too. Let's call
All right.
it. Thank you guys for whatever you did in Spotifying in or YouTubing in or however you say
listening.
Oh,
how about that? How about just thanks for listening? That's
watching
cool.
in.
Right.
Yeah.
Tuning in. Tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. There we go.
Tune in again next time
for some more
PowerHouse Fence Show. 2 fence guys in a fence show
talking about fence things.